Welcome to Konkon's Cantina. Grab a drink, sit back, and relax.
God, I love that music.
So good.
It's so good.
So good.
Royalty free. It fit what we were doing. I had to take it. Shout outs to Brandon. He is in our Facebook group. Now, I can't share it with everybody, and he might not be he's gonna release it, so it doesn't matter. He just he made his own full synthwave album. He's got eight songs coming out. He sent it to me early. He wanted me to listen to it. I've gotten through the first 4 songs. I got to get some more time to listen to
Nice.
the last 4. Yeah, he wanted some feedback. It's super good. I hope that he lets us use some of it, because we're probably gonna change up the intro. A little bit. But
that would be really cool, dude. Yeah, that's awesome.
What is up, everybody? It is your boy. It's Konkon. Super hot right now. I can't have the fan on, so I already had to take the hat off.
Winter is leaving Florida.
Yeah, winter is. We had friends that were at the beach today. They were just living their best life, not worried about a thing, and it's hot. I'm your boy. It's Konkon, and followed with me right up here, the casual kid.
Yep.
AKA Jordan. I just stole your intro.
Yeah. It's whatever. We're over the internets right now, and trying to connect, across the
interwebs.
Web. Yes.
Across the interwebs. Justin is on vacation, so kill yourself, Justin.
Such a jerk.
Such a jerk. This week, guys, we are going to be talking about, you know what? Housekeeping first, of course. Guys, merch. We do have some t-shirts coming. Now, the Patreon group, our Pantinos, and some members of the Discord group, they have gotten a preview of this early. They've seen some of the designs that we have coming out, starting off with 3 shirts right off the rip, and then we've got some hats coming out, and then we have some bumper stickers, just some little stuff coming out. Shirts are not going to be podcast forward. They are going to be designs based on a galaxy far, far away. So you'll be seeing those coming out real soon. Of course, social media at Konkon's Cantina at the following: YouTube, where we release our episodes. We try to every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Facebook and the Facebook group. And I just lost Discord. And we will also be talking Instagram. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Don't know what.
Listen, it's all of it. It's fun times with doing the stream like this. It's internet. We're always going to have problems. Anyway, social media, guys, you already know: YouTube, Facebook group, Instagram. If you would like to work with us and this podcast, please reach out to us at konkonscantina@gmail.com. Twitter, and of course, Discord. Now, how you're going to find the Discord link, it is an open invite, and that is going to be in the Linktree description at all the above social medias just listed. How you can support this podcast. We do have merch coming out. That is going to be a huge way that you can support this podcast, but mostly sharing the podcast, getting the word of the podcast out there. Sharing by word of mouth is how we are discovered mostly. Sending it to your friend who likes Marvel, because we're talking Cantina of Heroes. Sending it to a friend who likes Star Wars, because we will have a Star Wars topic for you every single week. And of course, if you would like to be just the utmost amount of support, we do have the Patreon, which starts at a $3 tier that gives you access to things like the Cantina listening post, where you can call in and hear yourself on the show. Also, we get full-fledged ideas. We run things by the Patreon group, ideas for show segments, and also we do have our first Cantina Insider exclusive episode up right now, and we do have another one coming up. We're trying to do one a month, and they're long episodes. Jordan, you were a part of the first one. 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours of just pure fun.
Yeah.
We had so much fun doing that, and it was a bunch of jokes. It was great insights.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. So definitely make sure that you join the Patreon if you can, to have access to that, because it was a great time and you won't regret it.
Yeah, you won't. Rate this podcast. Guys, rating the podcast is another way that it says, hey, you liked this podcast. You'll like these jokers over here too. 5 stars is, of course, what we seek. Wherever you find your podcast, rating us will help. The agenda of this episode, our special segment, we will be talking about characters from Star Wars that we would like to see more of, meaning Star Wars peeps who need more time, the name of this episode. People that had either no screen time at all, maybe they're a book character, or people that just did not have enough screen time. That is what we'll be talking about. Then, of course, we'll be going into our Cantina of Heroes segment, where we'll be talking about episode 5 of WandaVision. And then closing the episode, we will be talking very light news. But how was your Super Bowl, Jordan?
It was good.
Yeah.
We did some friends in our area. We did a food exchange.
Nice.
Some guy reached out to me randomly. He's like, "Hey, I have barbecue pork. If you bring some food, as a side to share with a couple of other people, we'll distribute it all out. Everyone gets to leave with something." So
Nice.
did that. And watched the Bucks just destroy the Chiefs. It was a one-sided game the whole time.
I feel bad. A lot of people talked so much about Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick had a really good showing. It really was the Chiefs. It was his teams, especially his wide receivers, that let him down.
Yeah.
So many amazing passes that bounced literally off the face masks and the helmets of
So
his
annoying.
wide receivers. Yeah.
Yeah, and that Bucks defense would just never let him to get his feet set either.
No,
So,
there's a
that
funny
was rough.
There's a funny TikTok. I'll have to post it in the Facebook group, and it's people like reenacting the Super Bowl, and it's literally 5 guys trying to tackle the guy pretending to be Patrick the whole time. And what they did is they have this clip where he does a backflip and still throws the football, and that's what that's what the whole thing was.
That's perfect.
The commercials were a little weak this year.
Yeah, the commercials either were kind of funny or they were trying to draw you out emotionally, which I understand. In 2020 and everything that's happened, you're trying to make an emotional connection for a lot of the people. But yeah, I can't really think of any commercial that just stuck with me that I'm like, I have to watch that again.
Yeah, I liked a lot of memes came out of this Super Bowl. So The Weeknd, I thought the performance of The Weeknd, from what I saw of it, was actually pretty good. And
it was.
Him going through that funhouse thing,
it was so great.
All the memes that have come out of that so far they're just immensely perfect. I mean, my favorite one so far is it's Order 66, and it's Anakin looking for more younglings in the Jedi Temple.
I haven't seen that one. That's so cool.
That one's good. But besides that, I mean, Bucks killed it. Some crazy statistics that came out for the Super Bowl is Tom Brady has the highest win percentage across all 4 major United States professional sports. He himself holds the highest win percentage. MLB, NHL, NFL, and NBA. That's insane. Yeah, and I don't know if it's a plus or a minus because football, there are less games played, so I guess it's True.
a higher.
That's true.
That the numbers slant because of that, but I still think that that's incredibly impressive because if you lose a couple more times, then that's it. So,
well, it can go both ways, right? Because when you play less
that's
games and you lose one, the percentage will go down a higher percent.
That's what I was trying to say, but I'm bad with words right now. So
I get it. You got it. Chocolate souffle.
Yeah.
But yeah, Super Bowl was fun. Me and Natasha, we didn't go anywhere. We stayed and just watched it ourselves. We got YouTube TV for the Super Bowl. That's how we watched it. Really need to get a digital antenna. I don't have one. I need to buy one.
Yeah, that's what we have. We've had it for a couple of years now. I'm not watching as much football as I used to, but every once in a while when I want to watch it on a Sunday, just bring out the rabbit ears, and it works really well.
Yeah, I need to do
Quality's great. Yep.
Guys, we are getting ahead of ourselves. We are a Cantina podcast, so we're going to go into the Cantina right now.
Welcome to Konkon's Cantina. What are you having? But remember, no droids.
This week, I am drinking something that I've had before. I'm drinking 2 things. I am drinking New Riff Rye for starters. New Riff Rye is one of my favorite ryes. Used to only be able to get it. They only distributed to 7 states, and Florida was not one of them. I discovered them because of Technicolor Droid. Anders told me about them. I visited Minnesota for work in 2019. Went to a Total Wine, needed something to drink for the week. He's like, look for New Riff. You won't regret it. Found the rye. I was more of the rye game at that point. Got this super good. This one itself, I believe, is I didn't bring the bottle with me, but this one I believe is 101 proof or 98 proof. It's right there in the 100 range. Really good sweet notes. It's a heavy body, so it's very flavor forward. It's not, I wouldn't say it's smooth. It is pretty harsh on the back end, which that's something that I look for. So this is a 6 out of 10 for me. I do think that this is not everybody's cup of tea. Very sweet up front, very harsh and peppery on the back end. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. It's always good to find a good rye that's a high percentage. And the peppery note is something that you don't always find in every rye, but I'd like to find that and try that at some point, because that sounds
got
amazing.
Plenty. Next time you come over, you try it.
So what I'm drinking right now is I made a cocktail. I have some of the ingredients behind me.
I see that. Look, we both got the BB-8 too.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I had my thumb the wrong way. There we go.
So what I decided to make was a Sazerac.
Ooh.
Sazerac, as you can see back there, I used bullet rye.
Nice.
There's some absinthe back there. You don't need a ton of absinthe, but it's nice.
Oop. Lost Jordan there for a second. He will come back.
Lavender, bit different. Supposed to have a garnish, and I just totally forgot about that. Didn't realize it until right now. So it's really good. Kind of have a sugar cube that's dissolved, and the bullet rye is always a good choice. Anytime you need to make a cocktail with rye, it's the way to go. So really good. The Sazerac itself, I'll give. Definitely will give it a solid 7. I would say even if you're not 100% sure about absinthe or rye, definitely give this a try any chance you can get.
So unfortunately, we lost you a little bit on there, which I think you texted me about it. But really quick, go over the ingredients one more time briefly.
Sazerac, rye,
yes.
Rye, absinthe, bitters, sugar cube. That's
sugar
pretty
cube.
much it.
Gotcha.
Yep. And really good. 7 out of 10, like I had said. And then the bullet rye is always a good choice for a rye drink.
I really like absinthe. Absinthe gets like a bad rap for like getting people like hallucinating and like super ridiculously drunk. I mean, if you're a licorice fan, don't be afraid. It's kind of one of those things where people kind of say the same thing, like you get crazy on tequila, you take your clothes off with tequila. Like, listen, that's really your prerogative. If you want to take your clothes off, that's on you. But yeah, I'm not taking my clothes off, and I enjoy absinthe a lot.
Yeah, me too. And this is one of the ones where I don't know if you're like me, you buy a certain liquor to make one cocktail or to make something specific, and then it just sits in your liquor cabinet for forever. Well, absinthe is one of those ones that I always have on hand because I barely make drinks for it. But when I do want it, it's always a good choice. It's always a good time. So don't be afraid of absinthe or rye. Definitely give them a try, and definitely try Sazerac.
Star Wars characters who need more screen time. Now, we wanted to bring... this is a deep cut for me, not on a fandom level of most people that we have on the show. And the reason for that is because this person actually does have quite a bit of screen time. They're in Clone Wars, the animated series. They're also in Phantom Menace briefly. We've talked about this person on the show. They also have their own. They also have their own book that just came out. So my pick for people who need more screen time is Quinlan Vos.
Quinlan Vos. Okay.
Did Justin just join?
Why Quinlan Vos? Yes, he did. Oh my God. Ruining it all, why don't you?
Justin, it does not sound good.
Okay.
No, your connection is awful, my sir.
Yes, it is not good.
God dang the mountains.
Yeah,
Yeah, back out, my friend. I'm sorry, it does not sound good. It's like
I'm muting you.
Okay. So Quinlan Vos, the reason why I picked Quinlan is, once again, Quinlan has always been kind of like a fan favorite. As far as he's just a character that hasn't been explored that much, but luckily, as of recent, we've had the book Dark Disciple, which was a huge thing. A lot more backstory into his character. So Quinlan Vos is a humanoid. He actually is not human. He is a Kifar. So a Kifar were a near-human species. They lived on 2 planets, and those 2 planets were Kifu and Kefex. Now, these 2 planets, once again, they seemed human in appearance, but because they distinguished themselves with not only their blood, so if they were cut, they had a very, very scarlet red, very, very deep red, almost a black blood. Something to distinguish them from humans. Also, they always had facial tattoos, kind of like Zabaraks, which is something that caught my eye. Kind of same thing as Ahsoka. You know, they have tribal tattoo type things. His is very plain, and there's a lot of fan art for other Kifars that have like more in-depth facial tattoos. But that's just how they identify, because obviously you just can't be bleeding all the time. Like, that's, you know, we got to get the hazmat team. That's a whole thing. You can't bleed everywhere all the time. Super amazing Jedi. Very close to the cusp of being Jedi Master, which is super cool, super powerful Jedi. You see him in episode 1 when we first get to Tatooine. And when Sebulba is having his little scuffle with Jar Jar Binks, in the background, when the frog is kind of thrown into the soup of the people, you'll see a guy sitting at the table. It looks like he has dreadlocks, he's darker skinned, and he has a big yellow bar across his face, across the bridge of his nose. That is Quinlan Vos. Quinlan Vos can also be seen in the Clone Wars. The episodes that he is in is Galactic Defense, Bombad Jedi, Hut for Zero, and Destiny. Those are the 4. He actually has a whole episode where him and Obiwan try to find a Hut that has escaped. So they've captured this Hut, Zero the Hut, to persecute them for their war crimes. And he teams up with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then also, actually, it says that he had a sighting in Revenge of the Sith, but it was cut from the movie. I don't remember seeing that. Yeah, I'm reading that now. That's in part of his appearances.
Yeah, never seen that.
But one thing that made him so powerful, we've talked about this briefly on the show before, he had psychometry. So psychometry allowed him to touch an object or touch an individual, and that allowed him to use the Force to see people. We get that from, I'm forgetting his name, but he's Cal in the Force. Cal has it in Fallen Order, and also the Force Collector novel. That person, non-Jedi but Force sensitive, also has that. Oh, is Justin back?
He's been there. He's just listening, I think.
I switched off of our horrible mountain Wi-Fi.
You let me know when you want him back, and I'll take care of that.
It sounds good now. Okay, so Cal also had psychometry, and this was something that I didn't realize that Quinlan Vos actually had until I did more in-depth research. And it's something that I'm excited for, because one thing that we're visiting as the podcast is we're going to be talking about character studies here coming up in the near future. The first one that we're going to be visiting is going to be Ahsoka Tano is our first character study. But we might have to add Quinlan to the list solely based on... I would absolutely love a Quinlan Vos character study. I think he's so underrated. Super underrated, and that's why I picked him, Justin. We're talking about the... characters that we want to see have more screen time. And I won't go into detail now I won't go into too much detail, because this could be something that we could revisit. And I also don't want to spoil Dark Disciple, but long story short, without too many spoilers of Dark Disciples, it revolves around Asajj Ventress. It revolves around Quinlan Vos. It revolves around his kind of like fall from the Jedi Order to coming back. It's a very Revan-esque type story. Super underrated character. And I would love to see him in further iterations of Star Wars. I would love to see him surviving Order 66 and see him in the Kenobi series. That would be something that's super cool.
Especially with the hype of Clone Wars for a lot of people.
And rip Justin again.
Into this story with Saj Ventress and Quinlan Vos. It's a solid read.
Yeah, it is. We didn't hear hardly any of that, Justin, but I know what we got the gist of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's cutting out still, unfortunately.
God dang. Smoky Mountains are screwing me
I technically
again.
can't hear him on my end. So.
Yeah, and Jordan can't hear you at all. For whatever reason, only I can hear you. And, well, it was fun. Do you want to give your outro? Okay, bye. That was my co-host, the PR man himself, not from Puerto Rico, but Justin. Justin is on vacation. I wanted him to join for the Cantina segment, but it's a little hard to. Obviously, me and Jordan can see each other, which you're gonna hopefully see Jordan right up here with me. Had to do this episode digitally due to scheduling issues and COVID issues, but more on that later. Jordan, tell me about the character that you want to see more Star Wars time with.
So I do have one that I'm going to go into, but I'm going to go ahead and preface this with now I have an honorable mention because they don't exactly fit, but I still think it's a good talking point. So so the character that I chose that I feel like we need more screen time with is Bossk.
Yes.
Bossk is a for those who don't know, Bossk is the reptilian looking character. He's a Trandoshan.
Okay, so I don't feel as bad now because I felt bad because I was going to be like, oh, Justin's going to roast me. I didn't do a deep cut. Bossk is not the deepest cut either, but I need more Bossk. Continue.
Yeah. So yeah, Bossk is one of the bounty hunters in the movies that works along with Boba Fett. You know, he's featured in
first appearance 1980 Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly. He's there with Boba and the other bounty hunters. He makes other appearances in Rebels. He also Clone Wars, helping Boba try to find Mace Windu. But here's the thing. Those are all really good appearances, but we know so little about Bossk, especially now with the EU no longer being a thing. Bossk was a character in there, and there's some information, but the problem is that none of that exists anymore. So I think it would be really great if Bossk, you got to see a little bit more of his personality.
Yes.
I think having Boba make a return, through Mandalorian
that's a great idea.
Opens up an opportunity for these other bounty hunters like Bossk. When I think of bounty hunters,
you got me tingling right now. I'm tingling.
When I think of bounty hunters in Star Wars, it's Boba, Bossk, and then everyone else. There's, everyone else. It doesn't really matter. And then even like,
did you say Din? You did say Din?
No, I did not say Din. But
okay,
I don't count him as that much as a bounty hunter.
You're wearing his hat, my guy. Like. Oh, stop. Okay, continue.
No. But still, when I think of, growing up as a kid, there was two bounty hunters. It was Boba and it was Bossk. And opening up with Boba being in Mandalorian, getting his own show now, I think it opens up an opportunity for these bounty hunters that we only get to see, maybe hear a couple of times, get to have some spotlight on them. And I think Bossk desperately needs it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
We get some Trandoshan stuff in two places. We get some good Trandoshan. Well, actually, three places. We get some good Trandoshan action in The Mandalorian, episode 2, season 1. So that's that. I like that. In the Clone Wars, we get a really nice look at the Trandoshans actually on their home planet in Clone Wars, the animated series. And then, of course, we get some Trandoshan stuff with Bossk in the original trilogy. Not much.
Yeah.
I would love more. And, New Republic, how could I forget? Or the High Republic, we have the new Trandoshan Jedi who only has one arm because it hasn't grown back yet. Totally forgot about him. His name is escaping me at the moment. But we are starting to get it. We are starting to get more Trandoshan stuff, and I'm all for it. I think they're cool. Yeah,
but I think it's because Bosk's personality has only shown glimpses. Like his interactions in Rebels was probably the only real personality we've gotten from him. I think digging deeper into him and getting more of his backstory and getting some stuff that's from the EU that used to be part of him into what's the current canon, I think is something that's desperately needed.
Yeah, I would
so I do have one
agree.
I have one honorable mention, and it's only because my wife blew my mind with this.
Hit me.
Shout out to my wife, Monica. We need more Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn appeared in one movie and a couple of quick references in other animated stuff.
Yep.
But he is probably one of the deepest, coolest, most undiscovered characters we have.
Yep.
And that's what my wife brought out. And I agree. I think if maybe with the Obi-Wan series that's coming out,
that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be a perfect spot for him.
Yeah. And we already have that whole stage set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see Qui-Gon Jinn talk to Yoda in the animated Clone Wars series. Yoda doesn't even understand this power yet, right? Even Yoda, the most powerful Jedi at that time, doesn't understand how Qui-Gon has started to talk to him, seemingly from the dead via the Force, doesn't understand how he's being communicated with him yet. Then at the end of Revenge of the Sith, once we see in the Clone Wars, the undiscovered episodes that they're on Disney Plus and everything, even Yoda receives this training from the Wills, learning how to transcend, how to become one with the Force. He then tells Obi-Wan at the end of Revenge of the Sith that he has more training for him. And Obi-Wan, of course, easily one of the greatest Jedi Masters of his time, has no comprehension of what else he could possibly learn. And he tells him about the returning of Qui-Gon. And 100%, and there's been tons of rumors, and honestly, all the rumors for Mandalorian were right, and we already have the rumor of Liam Neeson reprising his role for the Obi-Wan show.
Right, exactly.
And luckily,
so I think,
go ahead.
No, I think he's a perfect fit for it. I think it's the right time for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, as my wife brought out to me, he had so much kindness. But he was also the person that would buck the rules if he knew it needed to happen, which is something he passed on to Obi-Wan, who passed on to Anakin.
Yep.
So he has such a great personality and a deepness to his character that just the on-screen that has shown of him has not been fully explored.
Yeah.
So shout out to my wife for bringing that all up to me.
Yeah, it's such a deep character, especially you see in the gallery of season 1 of Mandalorian, where Dave Filoni is going so deep into his Star Wars knowledge and his Star Wars lore in reference to, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn. He's talking about the Duel of Fates, why it's called the Duel of Fates, and he's talking about how that is that's the person that Anakin needed, and that's the person that he needed to become the father figure, and it's really about the fate of Anakin, and that was the whole purpose of the Duel of the Fates, and that's why exactly why he needed, that part. It's just so deep with Qui-Gon, and we could definitely use more.
Right, exactly.
I think now is the best time for us to go into our Cantina of Heroes segment, and once again, we are going to be talking about Episode 5 of WandaVision.
Welcome to the Cantina of Heroes.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I am the Knight. I am Batman.
Hey, dude, are you there?
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Let the good times roll.
This week, we finally got to see Episode 5 of WandaVision. Episode 5 of WandaVision was what we all wanted, right? Like, we wanted that just immense, that craziness, everything. I don't want to say off the rails, but we definitely had some crazy stuff that happened. It was absolutely insane. There's so many Easter eggs. Jordan, how deep into these Easter eggs do we want to get into?
I think it's important to go through several of them. But I'm going to go ahead and let you know now that all my video software crashed. So,
well, there it goes. So we got a little bit. So it's just me now.
Yeah.
So
no, that's good.
Your little bubble up here is gone.
I got Thanos snapped, and my video's done.
Listen, it happens.
So no, I think it's important to go through some of this stuff because there is a lot of detail that happened in this episode that could be easily missed. Especially with the ending being the big surprise. So let's go through the intro sequence and some of the Easter eggs there of some of the sitcoms that they referenced.
Okay, so once again, we're kind of like stepping into the 80s. This was a theory that Justin had that has become true. We're going decade by decade. So this week we were traveling amongst the 80s. So we kind of had that family ties theme starting right off the bat. Family Ties, was this one of the shows? I can't remember. Was this one of the ones that we said like we were trying to think of 80s sitcoms that could have been? Was one of them that we said?
I think 80 when we were talking about it, Family Ties was one of them that we said quickly and then moved on from. But yeah, Family Ties, the painting in the intro is exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. The beginning of the opening credits, like you said, we had the family painting. We also had the sketch. You know, it's like that sketch, like the colorless thing. That was Family Ties. And then Paul Bettany, we also had his impression that was extremely disturbing and somehow good at the same time, which was supposed to be also completely based on Family Ties. And the haircut, like, why do I want that hair?
Yeah.
Like, why do I want that hair? Why do I need Paul Bettany's hair to look exactly like that for me?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. I think both of us could pull that off. We've got that blonde hair, and you definitely had a bowl cut when you were growing up too. Don't lie to me.
I had as close to a bowl cut as you could. I definitely have the hair that I had, but it went all the way.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I had the part that, never again.
Oh no, we're revisiting it. We're revisiting it for sure.
For those who've listened to previous episodes, I do have pictures of when I was in school for the embarrassing story. I will share that. I will share that. And you get to see that haircut. Yeah,
we need it.
But then, the intro sequence that was a very 80s Family Ties. There was also, the Olsen twins show in the 80s. Help me out here.
Growing Pains?
Not Growing Pains.
Oh, Full House. Full House. Yeah, Full House.
There was a small little section that was Full House right at the end where they're at a picnic in the town square.
Yeah.
That was Full House, and that's really hilarious, with there being an Olsen in the show, and then that's where the Olsens got started. That's really cool.
With the Full House intro, I was expecting this like drone footage coming into Westview, kind of like we get the San Francisco Bay Area from. That's what I was expecting. So Growing Pains would be the next thing that they made reference to. Now, one of the ways I didn't pick up on this, now once again everyone's interpretation was different, but Wanda and Vision kind of feeling it for each other by doing domestic things around the house, kind of getting turned on by each other. Once again, I didn't feel that. I feel that more with episode 1 and episode 2 than this one.
I kind of felt it, definitely it definitely had the Growing Pains vibe where, the parents are always like kind of excited and happy to see each other when they're alone, and then the kids come in and then crash that, and then they got to get to the episode and things like that. It definitely had that 80s feel for that part.
Once you explain that part of it, now I'm getting it. It's as they're
it's that 80s TV trope.
Yeah, they're like embracing each other and they're about to kiss, and here come Tommy and the other kid, and it's like, we can't let the kids see that, like, God forbid we actually love each other or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Also with Growing Pains, they also kind of full sent it with almost like the theme. They also input the theme that was from the original show. They had some of the lyrics. Not going to read all the lyrics. And that pretty much wrapped it up as far as the actual sitcom feels that they were going for. Once again, I love the set design is like huge for me in this show. I want all of these houses that they keep having.
Yeah. That actually was the Growing Pains house, by the way. That's what they designed it after. They took all the previous models and then made it Growing Pains.
And my favorite still is the 70s episode. I want my whole house to look like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But even this one, like their set design is just amazing. And it was Liz who caught that. I wonder if they're still. They have the Dick Van Dyke house, but what does the set actually look like? Like, I don't think they have an actual house. Like, obviously, it's probably a soundstage,
Right. And the soundstage, the walls move and things like that, which is what a soundstage is supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
The walls are supposed to move and things are supposed to shift as they need to, which is actually really cool for WandaVision, because if you notice, the house keeps changing each time and the walls are changing, it's expanding, different things are happening. So that's a really cool touch.
Let's talk about Scarlet Witch. Now, she had a lot of information that was divulged to her about this episode. For the first time, we've always heard, going all the way back to Age of Ultron, the killing of her parents, right? Due to this Sokovian war, Stark was the cause of it, kind of a callback to Iron Man 1, where Tony Stark discovers that his weapons are being used in other parts of the world, to to cause harm. He never wanted his weapons to be used like that. The name of her parents were divulged in this episode. I'm going to say this wrong, but Irina and Oleg Maximoff.
Yep.
In the comics, they were known as different names, Diego and Mara, which I wonder if that's kind of like a, Sokovia, Russia type thing. Like those Diego and Mariah don't sound European. Those more sound like South American. You see what I'm saying? Like they don't fit that. They don't fit that description in my head.
No. And again, it is a thing where the Marvel Cinematic Universe does run on a different timeline than the comic books do.
Mm-hmm.
So things are slightly changed, whether it's for convenience, legal rights, that kind of thing. So it was a cool detail, but I don't think it's world breaking.
Yeah,
honestly. One
thing that keeps coming up, and we talked about it briefly in the last episode, is the reference to Mephisto. Now, not going to go into detail about Mephisto, but more continuation on Scarlet Witch herself is we have this continuing hex pattern that is continually, being thrown in this season itself. Let's just get right to the ending, because obviously this has big implications for the character herself. And that is, she hears a knock on the door. It's the end of the episode. She opens the door and she sees me and Justin on the other side of the door in our Mandalorian outfits. I mean, that's what happened. Eggo, dude. When he commented that, I actually laughed out loud. Like everybody says like LOL and all this. I literally opens door. Eggo! Like I actually laughed out loud, because that is something that we would totally do.
Again, for listeners, if you are not on any of our social media, make sure you follow, because this idiot here ends up putting up some of the greatest stuff.
So it's the picture of it's her leading up to the events of her opening the door, and then of course, instead of, spoiler alert, Quicksilver being on the other side of the door, her brother, I put a picture of me and Justin that were photoshopped in our Mandalorian outfit. But Quicksilver's on the other side of the door, and not just Quicksilver. Her X-Men Marvel version of her brother. Now, let's just start theorizing right now as to why this is immensely important and what this could lead to.
Well, it's immensely important because this has never happened. We talk about, for those who don't know, Sony Pictures owns the rights to X-Men, Fantastic Four, and did have all the rights to Spider-Man. They have the rights to Venom, things like that. So to see a character who's part of the Sony Marvel movies be in the actual Marvel Disney universe is crazy to begin with.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know exactly what it means yet, but with all the rumors that are flying around with what's going to happen in Spider-Man 3, the Marvel version, what's Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. I can honestly see where this could be a catalyst for these two different types of movie franchises ending up together for maybe one or two movies, and causing this rift where it's like, oh, there is a multiverse. It kind of explains why there's Sony and Disney Marvels.
It's weird because, first of all, the guy from Kick-Ass who played the original Quicksilver one of my big complaints, and once again, this all goes back to IPs, and that's why we have Marvel, then we have the MCU. Like, we have all these different timelines, which I think they've also established that in game, where we do have these different timelines. To not have Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch be mutants, right? They were
Right.
children of the gift, right? They were given their powers by the Mind Stone. They weren't mutants like they were in the comics. By introducing a mutant, okay, this is the X-Men Marvel version of Quicksilver. They could have gotten the guy from Kick-Ass. This was done on purpose. This was done belligerently is not the right word. This was done on purpose. It was done for a reason. And when you have something as big as Marvel was only bought for $4.1 billion. Think of how much money Marvel has made Disney, but yet they haven't scratched the surface with everything that's in Marvel. X-Men is almost its own IP. X-Men is almost outside of Marvel. It's that big. There's so many characters. You think of Logan has his own spinoff. We have the new X-Men High Class trilogy, and we have all those movies. Dark Phoenix. Like, we have all of these things that have introduced time travel. This is done on purpose, and I think that we have a way to introduce mutants, and I think that it can be done right. And the way that we do it right to introduce Marvel mutants back into the MCU, because it's kind of weird, right? We've got 23 movies, and there's been no mutants. All of a sudden, we have mutants, right? So how do we introduce mutants into Phase 4?
Right.
The way that we introduce Marvel mutants into Phase 4, think about their storyline. Mutants have been oppressed. They're the minority. The government is trying to kill them. They create a vaccine to kill the mutant gene. They've been in hiding. It's not long to think that getting rid of the Marvel, the Marvel X-Men and bringing the mutants back in simply by attaching them to, bringing them into them by saying, we were in hiding this whole time. You guys didn't want to see us, and now you're seeing us again. It's not that far of a stretch. We were in hiding this whole time, and now we're coming to help you. And it opens up a lot of doors as far as, who the X-Men's fight. And I'm just really hoping that we really get this full introduction, and they really have everything that they need for the X-Men. Once again, not done on purpose, and that's pretty much it as far as Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. No, I think if they do it correctly in introducing mutants who've always been a huge part of the Marvel universe, I think if they go about it correctly, which, at this point I have to trust Disney and I have to trust Marvel to make the right decision.
I trust Kevin Feige.
Yes. Homeboy knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
So, I think if they do introduce mutants, I think they will do it the correct way. I think this was probably one of the craziest moments. Like, I had to watch it 2 or 3 times to even remember what I was watching.
Yeah.
Because it was such a shock to see the Sony Quicksilver suddenly showing up in the Disney Marvel. It's absolutely crazy. Great moment.
And this could introduce another thing. And this is a theory that I have is, there's another Scarlet Witch.
That's true. And that hasn't been addressed in the Sony X-Men movies.
No. So we have an MCU Scarlet Witch. We're also have to say that if we have a Quicksilver, which we just saw, the Marvel version, X-Men version of Quicksilver, there is another person that will be cast, and whether that ends up being something or whatever, it's like how we had 2 Gamoras in Endgame, right? Gamora is dead. Then we have a time travel version of Gamora, not a multiverse version of Gamora, and that's really the point that I was trying to get at. Is I believe that this has a finally established the true essence of the multiverses being brought together. Like you said, this is gonna no doubtably lead into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. A lot of the theories behind who Agnes is, Mephisto, those all go directly in correlation with Doctor Strange, them being his villains, what they stand for, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yep. And hey, speaking of Agnes, can we talk about her for a moment? Because she was really weird this episode.
Yeah, so let's talk about Agnes, and then let's go into Vision.
Okay. So Agnes was really strange this episode. She shows up as she always does in the episode out of nowhere, in jazzercise, wear.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely 80s, absolutely amazing. She shows up, she says something, the Vision doesn't agree with her, and then she looks to Wanda and says, should I do that take again? Like she's on a sound set, and Wanda's the director.
Exactly.
She's the only one who's actually able to. I've read some things about it. She's the only one who's actually been able to address Wanda that way, without Wanda breaking, without Wanda suddenly changing it or going about things.
The script isn't flipped when she brings it up, but when other characters have brought it up, it's instantaneous. Get out of here. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you think Agnes? Well, it seems obvious that Agnes knows what's going on. Do you think Agnes has more to do with what's going on, or does she just have Wanda's trust at this point to break character when needed?
100%. The going fan theory is Agatha Harkness. Now, Agatha Harkness is a Marvel character in the comics who is an ancient and magical being who basically her powers go back to Atlantis, the city of Atlantis. So now it's almost like we're getting kind of like a DC trope thing. So Agatha is somebody who's able to use cosmic power, magic, whatever you want to call it. She doesn't do spells from tomes, but she definitely has a magical power that's not explained. She also has ties with Fantastic Four. She has ties with Scarlet Witch. She has ties with Doctor Strange. And her speciality is multiverse taking over people's minds. I think that this is 100% a tropes, and you can see Agnes actually has the necklace that contains her power that's once again supposed to come from the lost city of Atlantis. In the TV show, it looks exactly like it does the old lady in the comics, and she can use that power to make herself appear differently, make her look younger. She can shapeshift, transform, all these types of things. I think that she is 100% in on this. Is her infiltration, right? This is her infiltration into this. I think she's playing along, but I think she's there by choice, not because Wanda has put her there. To answer your question, I said a lot. But to answer your question, she's there by choice.
Really good. No, I think that's a great theory. I'm hoping that that's true. I think that the thing that I'm struggling with this show at this point is that it seems like there's a lot of things going wrong, and it all seems to be okay, it's their fault. It's bad, especially when you see the scene of her coming out of the bubble, having her Sokovian accent back, and she's, has all the guns pointed at her. That, it paints her as the bad guy, but you see that all she wants is just to have Vision, and she wants to kids here, which I don't know how they exist at this point, especially since they're aging themselves. But the more and more I watch this, the more and more I feel that there is somebody else behind this. And I'm hoping that this next episode will give us that hint that we need to know. They've done a great job of every single episode to give us a little more information, especially, episode 5. But I feel like the next episode, they're going to give us who the actual villain is, or manipulating Wanda, something like that.
So unfortunately, you broke up a little bit.
So what about Vision?
So you
no, that's fine. I'm rambling.
No. You broke up a little bit, and I wanted to make sure that we got the key points. You believe that the next episode we're going to get the main villain. And that's pretty much all we got, unfortunately.
So no. And I just made the same a really glaring hint as to who it is, especially with Quicksilver suddenly being in the picture. What did you want to cover with Vision for this episode?
Vision really started to understand that something was not right. Okay, in episode 3. Okay, really started to putting puzzle pieces together, talking to people, understanding things weren't right. This episode, we find out that Wanda has stolen his corpse against his will. She brought the corpse to Westview and reanimated him inside this new reality that she's living in.
Yep.
Which was crazy. Vision also apparently had a living will, like I just mentioned, that he did not want any of this to be done with his body in the event of his ultimate demise. Basically, it's the MCU equivalent of a DNR, a do not resuscitate. And he didn't want anything to be done. And Wanda kind of giving herself almost like a villainous vibe here, breaking into a Sword headquarters place, blowing out glass with her powers, putting other people in danger, not being an Avenger. This is not an Avenger type thing that you do.
No.
And taking his body. But Vision stands up to Wanda in this episode. He's really starting to come to his own and understanding that things are not as they seem. And I just really appreciate that. And Paul Bettany, he killed it. I mean, I think his acting is great.
Yeah, it was the entire episode. Like, he even said it towards the beginning. He's like, I just feel like we're not in sync right now. We're not after the same things. And so, and then he has the moment where, he's going at his work and he goes through the email, and the email comes through and it's from Sword, and he enters his coworker's mind, and he gets the hint from there that, everyone here is in danger. But then he snaps back to it. Yeah. And I think Paul Bettany, he killed this episode. The moment when he wants to talk with Wanda and there's the confrontation in the kitchen, and then the credits roll as she walks out, and he's like, no, we're not done. And that was such a cool moment. Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to, let's just talk about who is the villain of this, everything that we're seeing, right? Who is the villain anyway? Despite the implications that we are getting, this is also a theory that we've talked about, that Wanda is the villain. It seems that at times Wanda is completely in control as to what's going on, but at other various parts of the episode, it seems like even though she's manipulating other things, she herself is being completely immersed in this reality, and things are popping up that are out of her control. And that's kind of like, I think that there's just more to play out here. It's like when we were talking about Agnes. I think that Agnes understands what's going on, and she's capitalizing on this opportunity to insert herself in this reality. And as far as like who is the main villain, I don't think that there is a main villain. I think that there are multiple people that have different agendas that can be seen as the villain. So what I mean by that is, Wanda in herself is a villain, and we see that by the way that she steps out of this Westview place that she's created. She confronts Sword. She brainwashes the guys to turn their guns on, their boss, which was a total callback to X-Men when Magneto makes all the police officers turn their guns on each other in the X-Men movies. And I just think that, like Agnes, without, if you have Agnes, you also kind of have Mephisto, and there's more people at play here. And I still think that the Sword guy in his name is escaping me. I think that he also has an agenda. I'm not going to say that he is somebody in disguise, but I think that he has an agenda too. And she's a villain, but she's not. I don't think there is a main villain. I think there's multiple things at play here. I think this entire show serves a purpose of setting something up.
Yep. And I think we talked about it. I'm leaning towards that it's setting up for the multiverse and, creating these crazy, timelines that are intersecting that, normally wouldn't. Same as you, I don't know if there is a main villain to this. That's just one person that you can point at. I want to go back to episode 4 and rewatch her interactions with Monica, where she pushes her out of the bubble. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of when, Tony Stark would make these terrible decisions or these off the cuff decisions because of fear. And it would be that same fear that he had when Wanda gave him the image of everyone being dead. And that's what created Ultron and all these bad decisions that Tony would make, because he had that fear that he could have saved them, but, you know, and only he could have.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking that there is this similar fear in Wanda, that what she's doing is she's trying to hold on to Vision, and she has a fear of losing him again and losing this world that she has created, because she can't deal with the pain that she's going through. So I'm curious to see, like I said, I think the next episode is where we get our big hint as to who the villain is.
Yeah, we only have 9 episodes, so I could see one thing that this episode did that we hadn't talked about that I really appreciated, and I did mention this in the last episode, is I'm really looking for this 50-50, this back and forth between reality of what S.H.I.E.L.D. is seeing and reality of what's happening in Westview. And by having her deliberately step out, we're getting a back and forth to the people that are working on the case on, outside of this hexagonal arena that she's created and whatnot. Once again, I'm just all in. I feel for the first time I want to actually binge something. Like, I want everything right now. But listen, we got a new Bucky, Winter Soldier, and Falcon trailer during the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And the Cantina of Heroes is going to continue, right? We have so much content to talk about. Hopefully, High Republic continues to kick off. Hopefully, to be honest, it gets a little bit more interesting, and we have more to talk about then. But Cantina of Heroes, we got a lot of Marvel stuff coming up, which that kind of leads us into the news. Obviously, Bucks have won the Super Bowl. Great game. I think everybody who is not a Chiefs fan had a great time. Listen, guys, you just won last year. You'll be all right. Bucks
you got
probably,
a young quarterback.
Yeah, Bucks probably won't be. This is a theory that I talked about. Talking like this is like a TV show. In
this timeline.
Yeah, in this timeline. With the Bucks winning the Super Bowl, there's a real possibility that the Bucks spent a lot of money to get the team that they have, but they don't have the cash flow coming in to keep those players. But now that they've won the Super Bowl, they could be a threat again next year, with a cash influx like winning the Super Bowl. You have more people backing Tom. I think Tom more than ever has proved that he's just a GOAT. And
he's the GOAT.
But they, a lot of people need to give credit to other people besides Tom. Fournette did phenomenal.
He should have got MVP.
I agree. I also see why Tom won. He's Tom, but I think that Fournette should have won. Gronk, honestly, I think all three of them put up numbers that could have gotten them MVP.
I think Gronk had like his best game all year during the Super Bowl. So yeah, absolutely.
More news. ILM. A scene involved Rogue One deleted scene. This is something that we have not seen before. We will post the picture on Instagram and Facebook. Darth Vader talking to Grand Moff Tarkin. So this was filmed in front of a large LED screen. And unfortunately, it added a presence where when it was in the film, it wasn't something that was wrote to be exactly in the film, and the suggestion of the scene was added by somebody named Chris Wise. He said here he's hoping that Lucasfilm and some of the other licenses celebrate the film's release later this year. It's the 5-year anniversary, and we are still missing many of the film's main character in Hasbro quote vintage and Black Series lines, and also Lego mini series. So we have a complete deleted scene that we have not seen, anybody has not seen, for Rogue One. So it's almost like we could get a director's cut, right?
Oh, that would be so freaking cool.
Rogue One is like number 2 on my list. It interchanges, sometimes it'll drop to 3, sometimes it'll be up at 1. Any more Rogue One footage I want.
Well, with Rogue One, and they did all of the recuts and the refilming of certain things. That was one of the reasons why it was delayed and pushed back.
Yeah.
I think seeing some of these additional scenes that maybe got removed, or maybe they were part of the recuts, the refilming, but they just removed them because of time.
Yeah.
Absolutely need to see those.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Because there are so many things that are in the Star Wars universe that get cut out of these movies that end up in other not IPs, but end up in other media, that it's cool to see that they originated from a deleted scene.
And I would love to see more Tarkin. I think the CGR Tarkin is one of the best CGI characters that we've had.
And Tarkin's such a cool character to begin with. So, yeah, more of him.
Yeah, more Tarkin for sure. And last bit of news, the Writers Guild has nominated The Mandalorian for Outstanding Action, Performance, and Stunts. Obviously not a surprise here. Mandalorian Season 2 killed it.
Dude.
I hope go ahead.
No, just the stuff with Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Anytime that she was on screen with her crew and Axe Woves, just was
Justice for Axe Woves.
Cool. Justice for Axe Woves.
Justice for Axe Woves.
But no, the action and the choreography absolutely deserved the nomination for The Mandalorian. Such great choreography.
Guys, that about wraps it up this week at Konkon's Cantina. Thank you very much for joining us. I was your boy, it's Konkon, and of course the man visiting me virtually,
the Casual Kid, aka Jordan.
Guys, next week we will be doing another virtual episode. Of course, we will have another Star Wars topic for you, so tune in for that. And then, of course, we'll be talking about the Cantina of Heroes. We'll see you next week.
Bye.